Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Clifford Berger, and I provide perspectives and information and resources for men who are looking to rebrand themselves for success in midlife. I'm developing some of that content over a series of videos, and I hope that this material is helpful to you. I have a blog and a website devoted to this that I call A Seasoned Life. So the idea of that is just thinking about the seasons or the stages of our lives and our development as adults, especially for men who might be somewhere in those midlife years, how to be successful with presenting ourselves in the best possible way for success and to accomplish our goals. So that's what I'm about. You can visit my website and read all of my blog posts at cliffordberger.com. I've been working on starting a YouTube channel and developing some of my content in this format, and I'm learning, and I've tried a couple of different things with creating videos. I try to keep it simple, and so I just kind of press record and talk and try to keep it short so that I don't have to edit out a lot of mistakes and that sort of thing. So in my last video, I focused on unpacking just a little bit about the springtime of life. If we think of life as spread out amongst the four seasons, represented by the seasons of the year, like springtime, summer, fall, and winter. Last time I addressed the developmental issues that take place in spring. Now I'd like to focus on summer. And as with spring or any of the seasons, the summer has really different phases. Early summer, mid or full summer, and what we might consider late summer. So let's take a look at each of those in sequence. Early summer, and I'm comparing it metaphorically to the seasons and the way in nature things grow, the plants, the trees, the garden, all of that. So some of the stages and developmental steps that living things go through are comparable in many ways to some of the things that we go through as human beings. So in the early spring, which you might consider like late May and June, I mean, technically it doesn't turn summer on the calendar until like the 21st of June, but a lot of times we think of late May and June as early summer. The days have gotten longer, and it's warmer, things are growing. There's that early summer phase where plants and things are taking shape. In fact, in many ways, they have achieved the shape that they're going to be, and they're setting on fruit or vegetables or whatever it is that they're going to produce. And yet they're not yet ripe or ready for harvest. It's still a season of development and growth. And so, by comparison, people who are in that season of life often are still in a stage of development and growth. And this would probably be for many people their late 20s and their 30s. So think about that early summer of life. Um, a lot of decisions are still being made by people. They're trying to get traction as an adult, figure out really who they are, what they're going to be, how they're going to present themselves to others in life. A lot of that is established in that early summer season of life. Well, then you might consider July and August to be more like the full summer, the midsummer of of life. This for many people would be probably the 30s, late 30s and 40s. Um, in nature, uh, in your garden, or on farms, crops are ripening. Many are ready for the harvest. Many are getting harvested over those midsummer months. It's a long and kind of wonderful season in many ways where uh, things kind of slow down, it seems like, from the activity of some other seasons of the year. People take vacations in the midsummer. There's a lot to enjoy. about that. It's sunny and people enjoy getting out in nature. And yet, the downside of midsummer is that the heat can be intense. It can be destructive rather, and it can make life uncomfortable. In some parts of the country, like here in the West where I live, in recent years at least, summertime has brought the concern of wildfires that have sometimes gotten into populated areas and brought about a lot of destruction. So there are a lot of good things as well as a lot of challenges that can happen in the summertime simply because of that season. So in the lives of people, especially people in their uh, 30s, even into the 50s, depending on your circumstances, you may find yourself in that midsummer of life. And this is a season where you're engaged fully in your career, you're a parent, you're raising kids. Some people become grandparents during this full on summer season. And it's a busy time. It's a time where uh, you may not be thinking way down the road because you're so consumed with uh, what is and what's in front of you right now. And that tends to be the way it is in that summer season. Then there's that later phase of summer that we consider, late summer, early fall, even. I would consider on the calendar year September to be representative of this time of year. At that time, most of the harvest, much of it is in already, although late crops often don't begin to bear until September or so. Um, in September, in a lot of places, at least around where I live, um, it can be kind of difficult to tell whether it's still summer or whether it's fall. It's that transition month. It can be a little of both. The weather in September can be nearly as sunny, nearly as pleasant as in the summer, maybe even pleasanter because it cooled off a little bit. But something begins to feel different in September, in late summer. You can feel it when you go outside. The lay of the sun in the sky, the hint of change in the color, depending on where you live. There's just something about late summer that no longer feels like midsummer. And you know that change is coming, that change is in the wind. And the leaves are still mostly green, but you can start to see some color. And so it is in our lives for people, especially who are in their late 40s and their 50s. You've lived through much of the summer of life, and there's this sense that some things are about to change. You don't think of yourself as old, but all of a sudden you realize that you've lived maybe half a century. And what does that mean? What are the tasks that we have to perform yet to live fully into that season as well as to prepare for the next? These are the kinds of things that I like to unpack and think about and write about and talk about that can help you along the way. When I was in that late summer of my own life, I began to feel it. When I was, say, gotten into my 50s, my hair was getting gray. It's grayer now, even than it was then, but physically I began to feel some changes. I began to feel, in some ways, like it was easy to start to disappear from view. And I think that's a pretty common experience for men in midlife, women too, but I'm addressing mostly men here. And so a lot of what I want to do, what I do, is help men think through the ways in which they are making that transition from younger adulthood through midlife into older adulthood, and to do so successfully, joyfully, productively. What are the tasks and the tips and the resources that we need in order to do that? So thanks for thinking with me through this season of summer. Be thinking about where you may be at on that continuum, and uh, we'll look at fall next and what it means to be moving into that season of life with winter beyond. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.